This is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
Is it Dublin?
No, I turned off this Twitch sound. I got Twitch up.
Let's go.
So I don't even need Twitch up. I just need to put it on the chat.
Yep.
Griffin minimizing application screen closed.
Still not seeing it.
You just said paused because you minimized the app.
Alpha 324 is bringing tremendous changes to how you manage your belongings. Your persistent hangar is now your first customizable home in the verse. Organize your cargo, keep your gear close, and jump straight into the fray. Your own space means quicker access to the things you need. And Alpha 324 is just the beginning of establishing your home. Stay tuned for more at CitizenCon this year. Until then, get ready for Alpha 324. It's time to shape your own adventure.
Hey, greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Soul Citizens. I'm GriffinGamingRPG, and I'm back today with two of my co-hosts, some of my good buddies, my traveling buddies, all the way down to CitizenCon last year, and we're still trying to get this other one to go with us this year. We're going to have to see how things go, but I'm here with both CaptainSeriousFun. How are you, Cap? How you doing today?
Greetings and salutations. Blessed to be here with you.
Good to have you, man. And as always, the one and the only. Haven't seen him in a little bit. I saw this brother today. Y'all give this man a round of applause. He is looking good. The one and the only GomabATL. What's up, my brother?
Hey, man. Can't complain. Glad to be here. Good to see everybody.
All right, good. You looking good. I'm jealous, man. I'm sorry. You got that big old smile up there now. You know what? He just shines.
It's because I got on this shirt.
No, I ain't got nothing to do with that shirt. Y'all listen.
It's just,
listen.
It's got a little bit to do with the shirt. A little bit, but it's mostly good.
Oh, yeah, that's because he can flex in it now. He got a muscle shirt on now. You know what I'm saying? He been working out in the gym and stuff. You know, he gonna bust out of that shirt pretty soon. No, but it's good to see you, man. It's good to have you back with us. I know a lot of times people always ask where Gomab is, and Gomab's a family man. The man loves his family. This summer, he was sharing some cool pictures of his family and just family events, and we're always happy to have him back. And of course, CaptainSeriousFun, another family man. Glad to have him here with us today too. Today we're going to be covering this is one of our shows that we do quite often. As you guys all know, every quarter we do an update show. And so as you guys know, this past week on Thursday, update 3.24 launched. Last Sunday when we left you guys, we said we were crossing our fingers because otherwise we'd have to come up with another topic for this week. But this crystal ball, as usual, worked for us. And so we are going to be talking about 3.24. So hopefully, for those of you who've had an opportunity to go in on Wave 1, or obviously if you're Evocati, you will know a lot of what we're talking about. If you have not done that, then obviously you'll get to learn some things today. Yes, Pops in space. Tell him how much you have lost. Pops asks how much weight have you lost. He can see it through the screen. Tell him.
Oh man, just I've lost about 97, 98 pounds.
There you go. I told him he's got to give us the formula, Pops. I'm telling you got to get us old guys and fit like him, man. He's looking good over
Stressed.
there. So you don't want to
I
take
got
that route.
kids and bills.
Those are
It's a lot of
organic.
stress.
Organic loss weight. That's organic.
Somehow that ain't working for me.
Yeah, really. We don't have the right amount of
I
stress.
mean,
That's the problem. We don't have the right
look,
amount of
right.
stress.
It starts with a liquid diet.
Okay. That helps.
No, I'm kidding. Kids don't do that. No, just not stuffing my face with as much.
Okay.
Eating till I was till I got what I needed, not what I wanted. A
Gotcha.
lot more working out. Got my butt out of this chair and in them streets, running up and
Okay.
down this hill
Summertime
out
is the
here.
time.
So,
That's good. Yeah, he does look good, Spitfire. He does look good. I gave him the same congratulations earlier. Okay, let's jump into it. We opened up the show with a little short video. Some of you all may not have seen that video. CIG released that video on social media. It was on TikTok. It was on their Twitter page. And in this video that we saw, they showed us a little bit, or introduced us once again to the idea of the persistent and personal hangers. But they also gave us a little clip after that, which we'll talk about at the end of the show, because we're going to project some things, because both these brothers last year attended CitizenCon, and they got to see information that CIG presented about habitation. So we're going to talk about that at the latter part of the show. But we do want to kind of say that this patch has been kind of a culmination. 323, as you guys, most of you know, for 323, what we're getting right now originally was supposed to be included in the 323 patch, and many of us thought that we were going to be going from 323 and then looking into going to 4.0, and then CIG told us that, first of all, that the hangars and freight and cargo missions were not going to be included in 323, and that they were going to hold off on that. And then CIG said, listen, the amount of work that's involved in that, it just needs to be its own patch, so we're going to make it a 324. Some people balked about that. They wonder what the big deal was, and I kind of feel like they made the right decision. They could have did a 323.2. So freaking what, right? What difference does it make? I mean, the fact is, this patch, it's, even though there may be only a few items in it, the impact of those few items is pretty major in the game. It's actually changing the way we're playing the game. It's going to change the way you think about doing certain things in the game. And I hate to say this, but inventory is something we all do, no matter what type of gameplay you're doing in this game. So once you get in there, you'll start to see the impact on this. And of course, CIG is going to be refining this to get it to a better place. So let me go to these brothers first, because that was the history part. I wanted to give you guys some background on this. And I don't know if you guys want to share anything about from 323 to 324, or whether you just want to go ahead and jump in and start talking about it. I'll put the floor to you guys right now. What do you want to do?
Well, I didn't see it as a big deal. I have the same sort of approach to it that you do. From a development standpoint, there's a reason why they would go from 3.23.2 to 3.24 in terms of the scope that they were seeing, and how they number things doesn't matter to me. Keep moving the project forward. Go, man. What are your thoughts?
No, definitely. In development, the numbers kind of are denote the scale and scope of what is changing in the project, and being in the PTU and seeing how much of the game changed between 3.23 and 3.24. I mean, it could have justified an even bigger jump, in my opinion, right? It ultimately, it didn't matter, right? These are just numbers to help keep things in line and help kind of give people an idea as to, how big of a jump we're going with. But, it's completely justified. And I don't think it really impacted the timeline one way or the other.
Okay. Interesting. Just so you guys will know, we're going to be going through, if you want to follow along with us, if you all want to bring up the roadmap, that's what we're going to be using as our guide today, to talk about the features and gameplay that have been added in this particular patch. So that's a good place to start if you want to just kind of know what we're going to be talking about. And we'll go through some of those features that have been added, and we're going to talk about what's different because there are some major differences in this patch, and there's going to take a whole lot of rethinking the way you play Star Citizen. Let me put it that way. It's going to definitely make you rethink some things in the sense of how you play this game, and we want you guys
for better or worse.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
For both, right?
Exactly. Okay, before we get into it, now we're going to go ahead and get ready to get into it. We do want to notice that if you notice at the top of the screen, instead of saying a subscriber goal for this month, we are doing what's called an Elgato streaming update. If any of you guys who've been around here for the last couple of weeks, you know that we were having some technical issues a few weeks ago, and it's hard to believe that we have been streaming now for 4 years. We're going on 4.5 years at this point, and the equipment that we had 4 years ago finally decided to give up the ghost a couple of weeks ago, and so we had to do some purchases, audio purchases in particular, and video transition purchases for hardware. And so I was not going to do this, but I was encouraged by members of my Soul team and some other people in the community said, Griff, everybody else does fundraisers for your stuff. You should go ahead and do a fundraiser. So at the top of the screen, you see Elgato streaming. We are looking to raise about, I think it's $350, I think is the total for that. So if you would like to contribute to that during the month of August, it would be greatly appreciated. It would help us, obviously, with kind of keeping things going. But again, we thank you for that if you'd like to do that. And I'll mention it again when we have
and Griff, where exactly do people go to do that?
Well, they can go ahead and do the donations through Twitch, believe it or not, because that I've structured it in such a way that it will be okay to go through Twitch. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. If you want to do it through Patreon, we do have a Patreon link on our page. That's fine. That means more of the money will come to us. But I think it's $500, but the amount is $350, so it kind of offsets a little bit, just so you'll know. Because we try to tell you guys that the money that we bring in, we want it to go back to the community. But in this particular case, a portion of that money is going to go toward the hardware so that we can continue doing what we do with the show. So the equipment's already purchased. I know I probably shouldn't say that, but I went on ahead and bought it. So if you guys could toss in toward it, we'd appreciate it. Okay. Thank you for mentioning that, Cap. Okay. Let's jump into it. As you guys know, you know what? There was something that you guys were talking about on this. Was this the shot you all were talking about? There was something you saw earlier and you were wondering if it was in the game, going to be in the game, or was that something else you guys were looking at?
No, I was talking about Cap's background. We were talking about this news back there. So it had nothing to do with the show. But it was something with the background. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. I was just making sure I didn't.
Now listen, we can always turn every show's topic in the direction of the Zeus CL, talking about it, meditating on it.
I'm sure you would like that. I'm sure you would. Okay, so here we're going to hit our very first area that was mentioned on the roadmap for 3.24, and that is the freight elevators. It's been interesting, guys. I've been hearing I've heard some people say, I say, oh, are you going to check out 324? And like, it's nothing but about some elevators. Gomab, I'll go to you first on this one. Is it just about elevators? I mean, is it something that person who are into combat shouldn't worry about? Is it something that somebody who's into medicine shouldn't? It's not a big deal. It has no impact on them. What are your thoughts on the freight elevators?
Let me say this as nicely as possible. My mama always told me that everybody has the right to be wrong.
Okay.
If you think that 3.24 is all it's about is elevators, you could not be more incorrect if you said it was all about unicorns. It literally changes every single aspect of how you're going to play this game. I don't care if you are a combat fighter. I don't care if you're a trader. I don't care if you're a pirate, a miner, or whatever. Somebody just likes to tool around the space. Mm-hmm. It's going to touch everything that you do. The infinite bag of holding is gone, right? You cannot just hit I in your home location and see all your stuff. For better or worse, it is what it is. I think they're going to have to tune it a little bit, and because right now it's a little cumbersome to just put on some clothes. from how you move cargo or whatever on and off your ships.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to change. So no, it's definitely not just a bunch of elevators. It's this update and the physicalization of cargo and using the kiosk and the freight elevators is going to impact everything.
Yeah. I know. I chuckled when you said about the magic bag of holding being gone. I tried to do something as simple as earlier today. I wanted to get some water. I'm so used to having stuff on me, you know what I mean, and stuff that's in me, and I was ready to hit I because I have a bottle of water floating around at the station, and it was like, oh shoot, that bottle of water's not on me. I gotta actually go to the vendor now. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have a backpack on, and it dawned on me like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? It's like, now, yeah, I could have went to the item bank, but no, it was actually faster for me to just walk over there to the hot dog stand, you know what I mean, and get something to drink at that point. So you're right, and I appreciate the fact that you said for better or for worse, because we are going to talk about what's good about this and maybe some things that, as Gomab said, that need to be tweaked. Cap, what about you? What are your thoughts on is it all about elevators?
Well, no, it's not all about elevators. I think Gomab said it pretty clearly that not only does the roadmap, and we're walking through these components of roadmap, we're referencing the patch notes, but there's stuff that isn't even mentioned on the roadmap or in the patch notes that are changes in this game.
Mm-hmm.
The skybox, the lighting, the color matching, all of that has changed. So we noticed it as soon as we went in and did a mission. We'll talk about later, but in approaching the location looked different and much better. And so there's all the stuff that we're going to talk about, which is more than elevators and more. So yeah, there's plenty here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about elevators, because again, this is just one aspect of everything. There's a post that I did. I did a post yesterday with some suggested ideas, and I might run some of these ideas past you guys to see what you think. But as you guys know, CIG had already shown us this from last year and throughout the year, that this idea of these freight elevators that have been put into our hangars. First off, when you go into a hangar, you do not have to go to a kiosk first. If you're at your home base, now I want to be very specific because I was a little confused about this. It's kind of one of those things, until you do it, it doesn't start to sink in. When you go to your home base, you will see, when you go to the elevator, for me, you will see Griffin Gaming's hangar, whatever size hangar it is, medium hangar, small hangar, large hangar. You don't have to go to the kiosk if you don't want to. You can go straight to your hangar. And when you get to your hangar, whatever the largest ship is you own that would go into that hangar, that's the type of hangar that you will have. When you get downstairs, come off the elevator, there is a kiosk right there when you first come off that allows you to bring up your ship if you want to. That's the only thing that's there, though. There is no item bank there. There's just the ship, what they call the fleet manager is there. Once you go into your hangar, only on one side of that hangar is the freight elevator. And at the freight elevator, there are two consoles, one to operate the freight elevator and another fleet manager console there as well. Let me go to Cap here a little bit. Let's let him talk about, why don't you talk to him a little bit about that process, Cap, of when you want to bring some type of inventory up, maybe explain about the warehouse versus the freight elevator. Let people know how that works.
Yeah, so, and this is coming from the perspective of somebody who got 100% rep with Hurston through bounty hunting and through bunker missions, right? So the folks that have been playing with one SCU boxes and the different size boxes, that hasn't been me until this patch, right? And so when you enter the hangars that I've been given a large hangar and I've been given a medium hangar, right? In terms of my experiences in the ships that I've been flying. And both of those hangars actually catty corner from one another are two freight elevators. So you come in and there's a freight elevator as you face the hangar to your right. And then there's one all the way down and to the left, right? If you're on that end of the
there is. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was only one. See, there you go. Well, I hate to say this, the extra large hangar is so freaking big. I haven't even been down to the other end.
You don't even go down the other end, right?
The large hangar has two as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, large hangar
Yeah.
has 2.
But I
Does
freight
does
elevators.
the extra large have 2?
Yes.
Okay, it
Yes.
does. So you're saying,
Yes.
so you're
So I'm
saying at the far, like that far bottom third on that side, there's another elevator with a kiosk over there too.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
So there's 2,
I
right?
didn't know. See, there
And
you go. Okay.
and so one of the first things you need to do when you first get your hangar, it is presenting on your level. So one of the first things you need to do in order to make it functional is to send it down to where your stuff is.
Mhm.
And so there's a down button for that, right? And then it allows you to play, and you get to move stuff from the ostensible warehouse onto the freight elevator and bring it up. And it comes up, sometimes, like, for example, I bought a bunch of furniture over at the shop in Hurston. I bought a bunch of the furniture. And so when I brought it up the first time, it came up in the corner, stacked, nice and neat, right? I sent it back down, played with it, moved it around. I brought it up a second time. It came up slightly differently in a different position, but still in order, right? So the freight elevator does put your stuff in order and tries to put it on grids, right? The stuff that goes on grids. What you have to remember is stuff that does not have a grid position system attached to it is more problematic to bring up in the freight elevators, right? So you don't want to bring up weapons. You don't want to bring up small stuff. You want to bring up stuff that has a grid that attaches to a grid normally. And then, my experience bringing the stuff out of there with a tractor beam was different depending on the scenario I was in. So when I was streaming and or when I was with other people, I wanted to do it quick, right? I want to do it quick. I want to get it done. I didn't want to waste people's time. Then I went back in just by myself, right? And by myself, I felt the intimacy of the physicalized thing that CIG was going for, right? So taking my time, pulling out a piece of cargo, walking it over to my ship, placing it exactly where I wanted, having stuff nice and stacked and wasn't rushed because this is my hangar, right? I'm not rushed, right? It was a very different physicalized experience, right? Than the, going fast, trying to maximize time value, that there's that energy. And then there's the energy of just, engaging in the process. And both of them connote this physicalized sensibility. But I felt it a lot more when it was just me, right? And I was taking my time and I was putting stuff exactly where I wanted it. And it was really about how my stuff looked in my Aquila cargo bay, right? Like, want to make sure stuff look nice. So the freight elevators, for me, were working very well. The back and forth was working very well. You do have to get used to the new UI. Yeah, that's the last thing I said. You have to get used to it. And once you start doing it, even 2.5 days in, I was saying to our Discord community, it feels weird now going back to 3.23 because this was a different level of experience. So.
Okay. Gomab, how about you? Freight elevators. I'm gonna get into the landing pad and the ship thing elevator later, but just give me your thoughts, Gomab, about the freight elevator. Anything maybe we missed because I didn't know about that other elevator. Duh. So fill us in.
Well, luckily I had 2 because the first time I stepped into the PTU, I broke my freight elevator.
So tell them what you did.
So
testing.
Testing. This is for testing. So I sent my elevator down. I went into my whole inventory. I said, select all, move to elevator, and sent it up.
Wow. Wow. That was ambitious.
I just went and grabbed every bit of my inventory and sent it up. And yeah, it didn't like that too much. So yeah, again, like Cap said, be very careful on, putting things onto the freight elevator that have that have the ability to lock onto a grid. Now you can use it to pull up things like armor and guns and things like that, but I wouldn't do that. I would, for things like armor, guns, and other smaller carryables, I would use the item retrieval kiosk and only use the freight elevator for larger items like ship components, containers, decorations, things like that that belong on the freight elevator. Use the item drawer for the other stuff. And I found that out fairly quickly.
Yeah. One of the suggestions I put in my post was exactly what you just said. I'm hoping that the warehouse be a warehouse, just like if I had a storage facility off someplace away from my home, where, like you said, bulk items, larger items, cargo items, freight items would be kept there. But what I would love for the see them to do is to move, to your point, Gomab, those personal items, put those into the item bank itself locally. So that removes that every time I want something, I always have to go to the warehouse, transfer it to the item bank, then give it to me. Let those items be in the item bank. You know what I mean? And if I want to put them in the warehouse, let me put them in the warehouse. But I would love to have, like you said, those personal items, my clothing. If I want to change clothes, I don't want to have to go to the warehouse to the item bank to me. I should just be able to go to the item bank, get my clothes, boom, go. And I'd be happy with that until we get things more like the physicalized closets and drawers in our rooms and things of that nature. But
I do have a suggestion, and this is something that I was starting to do, and this is what this freight elevator thing allows us to be creative and do. Fly up to a Leo, Seraphim, Bajini, whatever. Grab you some 8 SCU boxes, bring them back down. Right? Grab you a bunch of them, bring them back down, and put them on your freight elevator. Send them down.
Right.
Then go into your inventory and sort your inventory into those boxes.
Right.
Right. So you can put your guns in one box.
Yep.
You know, you can put primary guns, sidearms. You can put undersuits, armor, helmets. Like you can make it as granular as you want. Then send those boxes up and put them in your hangar. So that you can go to your helmet box, your core armor box, or you can go to, you know, this box. One SU box has one loadout that you could just swap into. Swap it in and out of, because you're using you're using the legacy inventory system at that point when you're interacting with that box. And so it gives you that ability. No, we don't have mannequins quite yet, but we do have 2 SCU boxes that can serve that purchase.
Yeah, perfect. And that's a great idea. And be forewarned, guys. Everything we're talking about right now is what happens in your home base hangar. Okay, please keep that in mind, because if you go to any other hangar, when you get there, it will be your hangar to use, but it is only temporary. Once you leave that hangar, anything that you leave outside, like Gomab's point is great here. You could set up your own locker system in your own hangar that's always there. You get off your ship, you can go right to that, get your stuff, boom. Beautiful idea. But if you do that at some other location, when you leave, that inventory that's left in the hangar, yaja. I don't even know what happens to it, but I know it's not going to be sitting there when you come back.
It ain't there. It goes poof. If you're not at your home location, all bets are off. Everything we're saying here are about your home location.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So that's a great suggestion. Okay. So the freight elevators, and I'm glad you mentioned this because as someone did responded to my post on Spectrum about, they were like, warehouse, where did a warehouse come from? The warehouse is nothing more than what we would say is the cloud. Okay, that's where your stuff is stored. Okay, there's no physical warehouse. You can't get on the elevator, go down to the warehouse and look around. It's just the fact that everything is kept in the warehouse until you ask for it to be brought out, whether that's being brought out to a freight elevator or what we'll talk about later is the item bank. Okay, but that's how things work with that. Okay. All righty, let's go ahead and hit number 2 here. New missions, the cargo hauling. Gomab and I have not had the opportunity. I semi had the opportunity to do a little escort, but we have not had a chance to monkey around with the cargo hauling mission, but there are cargo hauling missions in the game. Thrakazogs, thank you so much as always for that sub to Colossal. Oh my God, of all the people you gave a sub to,
you should have been stubbed, man. What you doing, bro? Come on.
Thank you, Thrakazogs.
Well, it's funny because Colossal is a part of this conversation in a way. So that's right.
That's true. He is. That is true. So, Cap, we're going to default to you because you're the one person on the panel today who did get a chance to monkey around with that. So,
yeah. So there's a new category of mission that comes up on the mission selector. What was it called?
It's
can't
called
remember what it was called.
cargo hauling. Called cargo hauling, I
Hauler,
think.
yeah,
Hauling,
hauling.
missions or something.
It's called hauling missions, right?
Mhm.
And when that popped up, um, I was in a party with Griff and Colossal. We took it, we shared it. The missions begin at 4,000 AUEC, so just a basic mission. And the first one was like, take these 8 boxes of quartz from location A where we were to location B and drop them off and get paid, right? And so it's the beginning of that cargo hauling life, right? That people want to live, right? And this was tier 0 in terms of rep and money, but it got us started. So what does that mean? It means that then you go over to the freight elevator, which you take the mission, and there's a button. There's buttons to sort your stuff in the warehouse. You can sort a utility, you sort ammo, you sort weapons, and then all the way to the right is a button that says mission. Right? It looks like a little shield. You press it and it's the mission button. And you click that button, you see the stuff that you have to be responsible for in the mission. You move it, you bring it up, it comes up on the freight elevator. So I moved the 8 boxes of quartz over to the freight elevator, hit up on the freight elevator. It came up, there it was. Colossal started pulling them from the freight elevator to the floor. I started pulling them from the hangar floor into the ship, placing them on the grid. We got them on the grid. And that bug that exists, that Griff educated me to, where you can't cross streams, right? So one person at a time on the tractor beam. Otherwise, the original person is the only person that can move it. But we figured all that out, got it up, took off. Griff escorted us down, made sure that there was no knuckleheadedness or malfeasance, and we landed. It gives you a pad at the distribution center. We went down, unloaded, and set it down, and that's when you get the mission completed, right? So very straightforward. It works. I've gone in and done it since then. I've had 0 problems with these basic missions, but this is finally getting those cargo people that want to do that cargo hauling and live that life. There's rep now to build in these types of missions, and I anticipate that once we go to live, people are going to be really leaning in so that they can start getting higher level missions, more SCU to move, etc. So yeah, it was great.
Absolutely. Shim Pasta, thank you so much for that sub to Sand Groper and is it Morgoth? Morgoth? I hope I'm saying it right. Please forgive me. Thank you for the Prime sub. We appreciate you as well for 4 months and happy to have you with us tonight. Yeah, it was interesting to watch Colossal and Cap do this. It was a very basic mission, straightforward. It's probably the best thing to do just to get familiar with the system. Gomab, one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the show that I can talk to you about, and I don't know if you've had a chance to do it, but because I was escorting them, I was ahead of them on our way down to the distribution center, and just as he said, to make sure there was nobody down there, nothing crazy was going on. And as I approached the distribution center from probably 5K out, maybe even more, maybe 7 or 8K, 7 to 6K out, it was nighttime. And I could see the distribution center. And when I say I can see it, I'm not talking about like red beacons flashing. I mean, I could see, you know what it reminded me of, Gomab? You know how when you see like a refinery somewhere, like at night when you're on the road and that whole area is just lit up? That's what the distribution center looks like now. You cannot miss this thing. I mean, you can see the roads, the ramps from a distance and everything. So it had a different feel, just like you felt like you were approaching some big facility, not something that was just...
Did it look like an airport on Final?
Oh boy, listen, he's got that bug. I'm telling you, he's got that bug, man. He's got that bug. In a way, it did. Yes, I hate to tell you a yes, but I would have to say that. Yeah, you would look for that. You look for that outer marker on your way in. Okay, but yeah, no, it was.
But those outer markers are much better lit now. The whole thing is much better lit.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the graphics pass that they did on it. And again, when we went there, we knew that we had to change the process. We've been going there for FPS missions and doing all these other things, but Cap was in Akani, and I'm like, dude, don't forget, we got to call. We got to put it in the hangar. So this was a whole new approach of us coming into the distribution center, calling for permission, coming in and landing. I went and landed. I was in a Scorpio, so I went and landed on the pads up there by the lobby level to do Overwatch while they were down there doing that. And then we did have somebody who showed up right when they were finishing up. That person kind of did a couple circles around, but they didn't mess with us. I let them know, hey, you're clear to go ahead and clear the hangar. They got out of the hangar. I made sure they got out. I got out. And it was a really just nice operation, just the three of us doing it. It was enjoyable, you know. So for those people who've been wanting to do cargo hauling, I'm hoping that we'll see this expand further. I know CIG has shown us that in the cargo decks, not the cargo decks, but the freight areas of the distribution centers, maybe you won't just always be going down to the hangars. Maybe you'll have to go down to one of those other areas, load stuff up into a vehicle and drive it inside the distribution center later. Maybe we'll start seeing missions like that. But it was nice. It was very cool to sit back and watch them do this work, and escort them. And it worked. It worked. We had a good time doing it.
Well, and Jared mentioned in the last ISC how the systemic development was the language he used, allows them to take the mission types that we have here in Stanton and take them over to Pyro. And you seem to see higher levels of cargo hauling, mid to higher levels of cargo hauling missions going across systems, right?
Yeah.
So we can look forward to this just becoming more complex and interesting.
Oh man, I can't wait, because that's what I've been waiting for like the whole C, right? Go and loading that bad boy up and do some intersystem travel, transport of things, getting your folks to come support you and making a lot of money. It should make you a boatload of money to get from Stanton to Pyro to drop off that stuff. You know.
We were having some real intense conversations about this. And one of the things, guys, I've said this before, and I'm going to project it a little bit still, and I'll love to hear Gomab and Cap's positions about this moving cargo. I think that for all of us, when we talk about that this is game changing, we're not exaggerating when we say this. If CIG goes the direction that we're kind of feeling that they're going to go when it comes to the economy and the startup of the game, you know, we've been very spoiled, for lack of a better word. I don't even know if I want to say spoiled, but because we're testing the game, CIG has kind of given us all the toys and the candy and said, okay, here, go play, right? And so it's not a big deal to load up a C2 or a Caterpillar. It's not even a big deal to load up a Hull C these days and do a run. But the Hull C in this game is considered in lore the most frequently used freighter ship in the game. But when you're moving freight at that scale and that size, that's a very focused thing. It's not just something you just up and go do. Oh, I just go take my Hull C out and go do something. You would obviously build up to the place where moving that level of material logistically, you've kind of grown to that point. And we're kind of used to just jumping in certain ships, loading them up to maximum capacity and going with them. But now, this idea of having to, and I won't even talk about a Hull C, let's just use the common ship that everybody loves to max out, which is a C2. If you load up a C2 now in a hangar, it is not going to be push one button. Now, you could auto load, don't get me wrong. You could auto load, and that could possibly be take some pressure off of you. But the logistics of what do I move? When do I move it? Unloading it, all that other stuff. And I know a lot of you guys are feeling like, oh, I'm just going to push the auto load button and I'm just going to not do it. That may be fine, maybe so, but be ready. My prediction, Gomab and Cap, is be ready to pay out your wallet when you do that. I mean, really be ready to pay out your wallet.
Money and time. Money
yes.
and time.
Yeah.
Right.
I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the ways in which CIG has to get the balance right is, Lord of the Drift's asking the right question, right? How much is going to cost? And that'll be, I think, based on how they're seeing us play the game. And, you know, there's going to be the fastest crews that load ships. There are going to be some people who are just taking their time and or don't know what they're doing, or it doesn't matter to them. And then there's going to be people in the middle. And that broad 80% across that normal distribution is going to be the X that they use to calculate the cost of auto loading, right? So if it generally takes X amount of time to load a ship, right? To a ship type like a C2, I can imagine a 5X, 10X price point for auto loading, right? And then they've got to say, well, does that make the thing worthwhile? Well, it may diminish AUEC, but you may still need it for rep early on, right? So then there's that pathway as well. So there's going to be a lot of interesting balancing that they're going to have to do. And that's why I hope that folks that have the opportunity to jump in the PTU jump in it, because all of this telemetry, all of this information, everything educates CIG, right? So they're paying attention to how long it takes people to do these things. And then, once they get into live, they'll pay even more attention. And ultimately, that'll be balanced. Auto loading will be balanced against that.
Yeah.
Let me throw some at your question while you keep your thought, though, but I still want you to respond to this. They also told us about the factor that there'll be certain places where you can expect to have, quote unquote, auto load, NPC, whatever. And there'll be other places where that will not be provided, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be, on places that have like distribution centers. Mm-hmm. Auto loading they'll have people there to do it, right? Mm-hmm. But some like Bezdek or any of those other places that we would go to get Laranite or gold or whatever, they may not, right? Because they're usually kind of sparsely staffed. Mm-hmm. And so it's understandable if the auto loading services are either A, very limited, or B, very expensive. Mm-hmm. But to Cap's point, right? When you're first starting out, are you looking to make money or are you looking to advance in rep so that you can get the higher level hauling contracts to make money eventually? You may, and look, if it becomes a wash where it becomes like, hey, you ain't made no money, but you gained some rep, it may be worth it. Or maybe if you only made enough money to cover your gas, your fuel costs, but you got your rep, that may be where auto loading comes into. Now, where it's really going to come into play when you start talking about people that are trading commodities for profit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when the people are going to have to break out their spreadsheets, calculator, and expand to more than 3 brain cells to figure out, how they're going to make money, because it's no longer is it a thing where you go and buy, all the Laranite and then go sell all the Laranite profit. It's a matter of time per dollar, right? So do I, if I get this C2 full of RMC or Laranite or gold, that's cool. How long is it going to take me to load it by myself? How long will it take me to load it with 2 people manually loading it? And how much of the profit will I have to split with them? How much it's going to become an entire whole thing, an equation that everybody's going to have to factor into it. And it's just going to make people think more, for better or for worse.
Very true. Very, very true. Favric, thank you so much for the 1,000 bits. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more, guys. And one of the things we always want to tell people is when something like this comes out, this 2.324, this is tier 0. Don't get caught up on this is the final iteration. This is what they're introducing to us. Take advantage of the opportunity to share thoughts, comments. Don't just share what doesn't work. Share what does work, what you do like, just as much as maybe the things that you think could be done better. If there's ever a time for us to do it, this is a good time, because as we mentioned at the beginning of this show, this is affecting us in every way in the game. Just like regardless of what you're wanting to do in the game, this is about how we manage the stuff that we have. So as I said, it's not just about the elevators. It's going to be about the way that you make money, the way you pay out your friends, the way you do projections and paying attention to what's in other systems and commodities, and all that other stuff is going to start coming forward. And we really want to make sure that this game becomes something that we really, really want to enjoy. So, it's going to feel rough. Anytime it's in PTU, y'all know what the PTU is like. So don't talk to me about the PTU's buggy. The live is buggy. We know the PTU is buggy. That's not the point we want to talk about. What we want to talk about is how do we get it unbuggy? How do we make it better so that it works? Okay, so let's try to work on that. Let's go to the next.
Hey, Griff,
sure.
Quick, can I do one of my PSAs?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, talking to you.
You got to point at him.
I'm talking to you in particular. You know who you are. I don't want to hear about a single issue that you're having if you have not taken screenshots, recorded a video, or at least gone to the issue council.
Yeah.
And put it in either as a new bug or contributed to a current bug. We are in the public test universe so that they can see what's wrong so they can fix it. You complaining about it to me and everybody else does absolutely nothing. So I don't
fix it.
Unless you've done that.
Yeah. Okay.
If you've done that, then I'm here with you. All right. PSA.
All right. That's from Grandpa Gomab, y'all. Okay, he's letting y'all know that. All right. Letting y'all know that old grandfather pointing that finger. All right.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's get into this now with the personal instance hangers. We touched on this just a little bit, guys, earlier. Personal hangers, pretty straightforward stuff, guys. That means your hangar, the place where you live, where your stuff abides when you pick your home. It's basically your home where you start now. Your instance hangers are any other hangar that you go to. Any other hangar that you go to is an instance hangar. It's a hangar that gets created for you to use, but it is not your home. There are things that can be kept at that station, just as in the past. You can use the elevators there and things of that nature. But the hangar itself, once you leave that hangar, if you've left anything out there, if you left a crate out there that you forgot about or whatever, the GoMob said it earlier, poof, it's gone. Okay. GoMob, why don't you talk a little bit about anything about you want to share about personal instance hangers or any experience you've had so far?
There's a couple things I want to say, but one of them I'm not going to say because I think you want to say it because you've mentioned it before, so I'm going to leave that for you.
All right.
There has been very few moments in my long Star Citizen journey that have been cooler than watching my ship come up out of the ground the first time.
Yes. 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 Yes.
After that, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Chop. You know.
Yep.
So, but no, it is quite possibly one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a video game. Secondly, I one of the first things I did was I said, hey, I'm going to pull out every single ground vehicle that I own and park them around my my hangar because I just love the fact, like, okay, what's my mission? What am I going to do? What am I going to need? Oh, I'm going to need a ground vehicle. Oh, my medical Ursa's over there, or my Dragonfly is over there, or my Tumbril, whatever, is over here, right? And I could just go jump into it, or I can go pull up whatever ship I'm going to fly to the mission, jump into that ground vehicle, drive it onto the ship, and away I go. I think that is so freaking cool. I don't have to. I no longer have to go to a ground outpost or one of the cities that have things, because I home base out of Orison, so there was no ground vehicle access in Orison.
Right.
So
right.
I think that was that being able to do that.
Yeah.
Minus the fact that it took a Methuselah's age to get your vehicle to pop up.
Safety too, safety and security too, right? If you went down to a base or something, you had to expose yourself.
People can mess with you. Yeah. But no, yeah, and to fast cart, no, I didn't get tired of it. I think there's opportunities for tuning.
Yes.
Of the efficiency of it.
Absolutely.
And that's the part I'm going to leave to Griff to talk about what he thinks should happen.
Cap, I'll go to you first on this one. I'll go to you next.
Oh no, I mean, I a lot of GoMob sentiment I share. I very much enjoyed. Well, I got on right when they announced the PTU, right, and I was at New Babbage where a lot of people decided to spawn, and a couple of things in terms of queues and not being able to get down there at first happened. That is, for those of us that have been around, that is PTU all the time. When it first comes out, everybody jumps on, things get clogged, bugs get exacerbated, whatever. Later on that night, and then since then, it's been relatively straightforward. You you would sometimes see somebody else's name on the elevator. But when you go in and look at the elevator floors and scroll down, my name was always there, right? So I knew, I was like, okay, go there, click, go in. Um, I was just paying more attention to who's in the elevator with me, because as you know, they can come down to your instance, and that's a free fire zone. Folks that are Soul Team and Soul Team adjacent, Fist to Face, and others have shot and been shot in those spaces, right? Um, and so just paying attention to that, who's in the hangar, who's in the elevator with you. You go down and started that work, started pulling up the Ursa medevac so that I could have it on the side so that I could do that stuff. Start pulling out furniture, tried to put up posters, all of that stuff to make it personal, and could see immediately, even before they put out the little Twitch video that we're going to talk about later, you could see that this is really the beginning of them getting a sense of what we want to do when we personalize and customize something, right? What are we pulling out? What are we putting up? What are we buying to put out and put up? Where are we putting it in a hangar, right? All of that is great information for CIG. It's great for me to think it through with items that I've had for a long time but never had a place to put them. And just really enjoying this process of having my own space. I was saying to Fast Cart the other day that when you're in Hurston, as Colossal would know, you don't get nice hangars. You get the self-land hangar.
You don't get nothing nice in Hurston. Hurston's just,
Right.
just a terrible
Correct.
place. And I can say that because Colossal's not on here to refute it. So Colossal, this is for you. Hurston sucks.
But I was saying, it does. Power to the workers. But saying to Fast Cart that I felt like this is the first time I've been in a self-land hangar since the hangar modules. Right. And so we've got assets that are getting pulled back out for our experience. They've been updated for 3.24, but it was just very interesting to see that branding for the first time since that time.
Absolutely.
So just really enjoying that.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that logo up on the wall too. I was like, oh wow, they threw that back up there. So it's pretty cool to see that they put the Self-Land logo back up on the hangar wall. Couple things that Gomab mentioned I do want to go back to, and we didn't even get into this. He talked about being able to bring his vehicles out and ready to go. But one of the other things about the hangars is we can also deal with the interior. We can decorate. They have put furniture in the game now. There are couches and chairs and tables. Some of you guys still have some of the earlier hangar flair. Now, be forewarned, some hangar flare has not been converted into the new graphic system, so some of it does not work, some of it does. Surprisingly, some old stuff like the fish tanks, they're there. You can bring them up. They don't have the fish in them, but they work and everything. But then there are some other things like the holographic tables. Those do not come up. There's still bugs out there, okay? So just be aware of that. And some things just have not been converted. But you can set up furniture and things of that nature to start making this place be your very own in your own way. And we know that CIG is going to expand that further. Some people have asked me, guys, also about, well, what happened to my Revel in York hangar? What happened to my VFG hangar? Those hangars are coming later, okay? They are, I think that they're still going to come. What we're doing right now, and what we've always had, is a version of the Aero View and a version of the Self-Land, just kind of a watered down version. Now they've gone back and made them look like they're supposed to with the logos and everything. So I'm going to assume that eventually those other ones will come too. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any reason why they wouldn't go ahead and give us those other hangars, particularly because in the early days, some of you may not remember this, that you could actually purchase a certain type of hangar. They took that away after a while. After a while, it was just associated to the ship that you got. But there are some people who literally spent money to have a Revel in York hangar, for example. Okay. And so I'm just going to assume that that's going to be something that comes later. There's no urgency for it right now. I know it would be cool to have it, but for right now, we'll get to it. The VFG is the other one too. to your point, Gomab, you mentioned about the point that I was going to mention. One of my other suggestions in my post that I posted was that the hangar bays, you guys know how we have those side bays. Some of them are work areas. Some of them have a forklift in them. Some of them have crates. That what they would do is create a bay that is specifically a garage bay, a bay that would be dedicated to bringing up vehicles, because currently there's only one elevator to bring up ships and vehicles. The other elevator is strictly for freight. Now, CIG has shown us that they wanted to be able to bring up vehicles through the freight elevator. I think that's I think there's a better way to do it. Let's just say that. I think the better way to do it is keep the freight elevator for freight. Okay. And then allow you to have a vehicle elevator. Now, maybe they'll make it so that the freight elevator can do vehicles. I know that they were having problems with that. That's why we can't do it right now. You can't bring vehicles up that way. And I don't know, maybe when they get it working on the freight elevator, you don't have to worry about the ship, using the ship elevator anymore. But I would love for them to make a couple of those bays, one or two of those bays, specifically for vehicle repair and an elevator. That way, there's no impact on the ship elevator. If you want to fly in, for example, right now, if you were to fly back home and you said, let's say you're in your Corsair and you're coming in and you want to land and you say, oh, I want to get one of my vehicles out. Well, currently what you have to do is land, bring the Corsair back down, then bring your vehicle up, then bring the Corsair back up. Now, mind you, if they bring vehicles up on the freight elevator, you wouldn't have to do that too. But I just like the idea of the freight elevator being about freight, and a garage being there for vehicles, and there have an elevator in there that just brings up nothing but your tumbrils, your tank, your bikes, whatever it is over there. Now, I know that's extra work, CIG. I get it. But I think if it's
but to your point,
that,
Griff, they have, they have in the medium and large hangars, when you come into the hangar, let's say you're standing at the ASOP terminal looking into your hangar. But if you then walk into your hangar and you turn left and then left again, or right again in the medium and large hangars in particular, you have nooks and areas that are in the Selfland one, I noticed last night, that are labeled loading area. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They have other doors, right? So they've modeled the hangars such that they could do that if they wanted to do it. Yeah. Right. And that would be a good place to bring up the vehicles as well, because it's its own area for not only loading, but also management, repair, everything else. So,
yeah. I just want to interject here.
Sure.
Any CIG people that are watching, you don't have to do this right now.
Right.
Because
it's always like, don't slow them, don't slow their roll.
I agree. Don't be like, oh, let's do this now, and like let's add back on 8 months to the.
I agree.
This is something that we would like to see one day. It could be after 1.0. That's fine.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Stay focused. Stay focused. That's right.
Stay the course. Right now, we're talking about areas to optimize and make more efficient and streamline the gameplay.
Yep.
But it's not something that you guys have to figure out tomorrow.
Exactly. Unless you can do it tomorrow. But otherwise, don't. But otherwise, don't.
History has said, adding a color to something takes 6 months.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. We did put in one request to them, and they did do it. Weirdly enough, there was one time they did do something, and we didn't expect them to do it, but they did. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we definitely enjoy what's there. We get where they're trying to go, but to Gomab's point earlier, there needs to be fine tuning. The other thing that Gomab mentioned earlier, and I mentioned this in my post as well, is that currently this is what happens when you want to have your ship. You come in for the first time, you're just in your hangar, it's empty. You want to call up a ship, the lights go down, lights start flashing, you start hearing the klaxon horn go off, and then the floor of your hangar starts to go down. Very cool effect. Looks very, very cool. It goes down. We're always curious. We look over the edge, see where it's going. It gets to the bottom. Once it gets to the bottom, 2 large shutter doors close over the top of the hangar. They close for a few seconds, then they open back up again. Then once they're open, the elevator starts to come back up. To Gomab's point, there is a tweak that they could do that costs them nothing, barely any time to do this. And all it is that the floor and the shutters do not have to wait on each other. Once a ship starts going down, once it gets to a certain clearance, because the doors are so far out, the doors can start closing as the ship is going down. Once the ship is ready to come back up, let the doors start to open, let the ship start to come up. You would probably knock off about, to my point, Gomob, 30% of that time that you're standing there waiting. And it would feel better at that point, because that whole process of just sitting there waiting for one process to happen then another is unnecessary. Even if the shot, and they can scale it based on the size of a ship, clearance, but those two things can happen simultaneously and it would be much better.
Oh, it would be great if the elevator only went down far enough for the ship that is spawning in to fit.
To fit. Yeah, it doesn't have to go all the way to the bottom, right?
It don't have to go all the way to the bottom.
Because the doors will probably be closed anyway by that time. Yeah.
Start, as soon as the elevator breaks the plane or where the doors can close, the doors should start closing. It should, and at that point in time, once I can't see the elevator close, it can be hand waving. I don't care.
Oh, right? I agree. Yeah, because I put a PTV on there. You know how small a PTV was?
Yeah.
It's all the way. It's like I can't even see it. It's literally like this small. And I was like, y'all didn't have to let that elevator go all the way down for that PTV. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. The clearance height could be the determining factor. It may only need to go down 15, 20 feet. That's it. You come right back up. I agree. That's a good idea. Should have added that to my thing. I like that.
Hey, well, you can always go add a note to it.
Yeah, I can always add it. Yeah. Okay. Anything? Let's share this about personal instance hangers too. Again, when you're in your home base, when you go into the elevator, you will just see your name only when you go into the elevator. But when you go to another location, Axis, thank you so much for that raid. Our good friend Axis just sent over one of his viewers. Thank you so much. Hope you had a good stream. Glad to have you here. Appreciate that and welcome. But when you go to an LEO, if you go to any other stations, when you go into the elevator, you're going to see the numbers and names like normal. You're going to see docking bay this. You're going to see hangar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you scroll to the bottom, you will see the hangar with your name. Okay, so be aware of that. When you're in your home base, if you're in that elevator, the only floor you're going currently, I don't know if this is going to be permanent or not, but only one you'll see in there is your hangar at your home base. That means also that you can't go to anybody else's. The only way you can go to somebody else's is if me and Gomab and Cap are partnered up. I'll see their hangar names also.
If you're partnered up, if you're in the same party, you can see other people's. So because me and Togi. Yesterday, I was able to go to this hangar. Thank you, Togi, for not shooting me. Thank you.
Yeah, Cal Roddy. I felt the same way. Cal Roddy and I partied up, and I went to his hangar, and then I went up on the ship. And as I got into his ship, he was pointing a gun at me, and I was like, "Oh Lord, I forgot who Cal Roddy was." But he didn't shoot me, so thank you very much, Cal Roddy, for not shooting me.
Yeah. So just be aware that those are the dynamics. Now, if you're at a different station, guys, don't forget, if you're at a different station, those hangars can be accessed still, just like they've been in the past, but your hangar will be at the bottom. Sometimes you'll see it, but if you don't, just scroll to the bottom and you should see your hangar down at the very bottom. Okay, it's time for us to take our break. Time for us to take our commercial break. Thank you guys for being here with us today. At the beginning of the show, we talked about the fact that we're doing a special fundraiser. Over the last few weeks, we've had to do some purchases of some new hardware for our stream. Our stuff was 4 years old and it was getting a little wonky. So right now, if you donate any money to us through Twitch or YouTube or our Patreon, those funds will go toward it. We're shooting for a goal of $500 to cover our streaming equipment. I was encouraged to let our community know because our community has been a giving community. And so if you have the wherewithal and the resources and the desire, feel free to send us something via Twitch like normal, or you can send it through our Patreon or YouTube, and it will greatly help us with keeping the show going and keeping all our technology nice and neat and cool. So
Griff, I don't know if you've seen this, but money has started rolling in. If you take a look at the stream alert.
Oh,
yes, it has.
Well, blow me down. I didn't know that. I must have missed it. I don't know why I didn't see that. Okay, but
it's not updating the bar.
Yeah,
up there.
It's not updating it. That's kind of wanky. Okay, I'll have to find out what the deal is with that. All right, but I can still check on the Twitch page and it'll still tell me if stuff comes through. I don't know why that's not going through, but I'll have to find out. Maybe something with my link. Anyway, we're going to go.
So we're thankful.
Yeah, we are very thankful, extremely thankful. We're going to take our 1 minute break to commercial break, and then we will be right back, gang. Thanks for being with us. Okay, we are on our ad break. Once again, guys, thank you guys for being here with us and supporting us as always. We truly appreciate you. Wanted to let you guys know that because it's the beginning of the month, our newest episode for Sole Producers went out on Friday. If you are a Patreon or a YouTube subscriber, you have access to that. Hopefully, you've got a chance to take a look at it. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you check it out. If you're not, it will go live tomorrow for the public. The title of it was Star Citizen. Is it worth the wait? Is it worth the wait? As we're approaching CitizenCon, we're going to see. You guys know we're approaching this 4.0 thing. We're approaching CitizenCon. The question's going to be, was all this worth the wait? So make sure you guys check out on that video on YouTube. It'll be out tomorrow morning. And definitely give us some feedback if you guys like it. And we appreciate you guys as always. Okay?
Griff, we just got $300 in donation.
What?
Just by the way, so.
Oh my God. Where are you guys seeing this at?
Look at streaming alerts in the Discord that you set up. The that you set up.
Okay. You know what? Listen, I got 6 windows up here. I'm sorry. Okay, guys, we're back. Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. Oh God, thank you. You guys someone donated $300. Thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you. You guys are amazing. Oh, thank you.
This is an amazing community. It was an amazing community before this ask.
Yeah.
It's just a blessing. We're super thankful. That's good stuff. And you're helping us do the things that Griffin Fastcart, what they do with these dollars. Part of the reason I was excited to join them as an executive producer is because they are what it says on the can, right? You're like, man, this community looks like it's about the right things. It does the right things. It embraces in the right way. And it is all that. Underneath the hood, it is all that. So thank you very much for doing that. We're very appreciative.
Thank you. You guys are keeping us going. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Wow, that caught me off guard. Okay, another $100. Wow, thank you. Oh, wow. Okay, guys, thank you guys so much. Okay. Man, I don't even know what to talk about now. Okay, let's go to our next topic here. Storage access. Ooh, we can get into this one. Adding storage access kiosks to the persistent universe, allowing players to retrieve and store FPS items at multiple locations. Let me ask you guys a question. How do you feel about the 1,878,000 item banks that are spread out throughout the standard system? My feeling was that that's what they're doing now, but they'll probably whittle it down. What do you guys think? I don't know if we need. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Griff.
Yeah.
Pause for the cause.
Yeah.
I want to Namastova. I just want to call you out. Thank you for the donation of 300, dude. Wow. I won't call you out personally. And the prisoner, appreciate you for kicking it off with the donation. We want to make sure we take care of Griff here on this thing. He's doing a lot to keep this thing going for the community. So I'm looking at the page here now, and I just want to say thank you for those donations.
Wow.
So,
yeah, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Gomab. Yeah. So these item banks, these terminals that are all over the place, they do break immersion for me a little bit. But I don't know. How do you guys feel about? I mean, do you feel like they need to be every 5 feet, or do you think they need to? That players need to.
I'm gonna let Gomab. I'm gonna let Gomab go first because I got a hot space opinion on this that I know is controversial. So.
Okay.
All right. So I get it. They want everything to be very tactile and physicalized.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to need to be some work in order to find a good middle ground from the infinite bag of holding that we had in a lot of places and the absolute mind grinding tedium that it takes now to equip your stuff. I mentioned a tip right earlier that could help with that stuff, and we know that they are going to come out with gear lockers and things like that where we'll be able to store like loadouts and things like that to make these things easier going forward. And I think once the capabilities like search are more fleshed out and are actually working, It'll be a little bit easier. And so, yes, I realize this is point zero of the iteration of this thing. So it's brand new. We're in wave one of PTU on this stuff. So this is our first time really getting to play with it, and so we're going to experience the growing pains, and we got to give them the feedback of what we're seeing, and they'll make. We have to trust that they'll make the adjustments needed in order for us to actually find the gameplay is fun. So right now it sucks.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Does it break immersion for you though? I want to go to that though. I appreciate you answering that question, because that was part 2 of the question. But when you saw all the item banks in the game, did you get excited about it? Did you look at them like, why are there so many of these? Or do you feel it's like this kind of squelches the whole transition for us, because we are so used to no matter where we are, we can get our stuff in 2 seconds, that CIG just kind of overkilled it so that people don't feel like, I gotta go find me an item bank so I can go get my stuff. All they gotta do is turn their head and there's an item bank.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, because if your inventory is actually at the station, I should have multiple places within the station to access that inventory. Now, once we have hubs in the stations,
right,
then your inventory should be located in the hubs. That's why it's kind of like we've gotten this part of it before we got the other pieces of it. If I was king for a day, right, I would have brought armor lockers online before this.
Okay.
Right, I would have put effort into putting the armor lockers and stuff that are in ships and that are in the stations. Brought those online before. I would have put armor lockers in the in the hangars, and still had that kind of legacy inventory. But that's just me, right? I'm sure they have reasons as to why they went the way they did, but that to me would have been a more logical progression. Like, hey, here's a way for you to organize your stuff, and now here's a way. Now we're going to transition you to a point to where you have to organize your stuff.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Cap, thoughts?
Oh yeah, I got lots of thoughts on this one.
Okay.
So when you come to this project, you can whether you're new or you're old. If you're older, if you're new, you say, well, what is Star Citizen? What is it? Is it a game? What is it? And if you've been here for a long time, you might continue to ask that question to yourself over time as you see it evolve. Not only what is it, but what is it becoming? Right. And so for me, one of the things that I pay attention to is how CIG tells external people what they think it is. Right. And so when Tyler goes on to Linus Tech Tips Tech Longer segment and says, Star Citizen is the most ambitious, immersive, uncompromising universe sim ever. He says, it is our attempt at a living universe to ultimately become the metaverse for tens, if not hundreds of millions of people around the world. We want people to be able to escape into the verse and to never have to come out except for the essentials, quote unquote. When they make the decision to use the head of their community group to go to a large community like the Linus community and describe themselves thus, this is what I believe they have up on the wall, right? In Manchester and in Austin and in Los Angeles. So given that, I have to assume that item banks everywhere is for us to test the function right now.
Okay.
Right? I don't assume that item banks everywhere is going to be a component of the most ambitious, immersive, uncompromising universe sim ever, right? Because it's weird to have in a universe sim. It depends on what you're simulating, but if you're trying to get some verisimilitude to how we might be in 930 years, right? If that's what you mean by universe sim, then it'd be weird for me to be able to go anywhere. I mean, what kind of pneumatic tube system you've got to have for me to be able to go anywhere and press a button and get my stuff, right?
Right.
I can see you going to a couple of key places to get your stuff over the long term. So I'm treating the fact that we have these item banks everywhere as we put them everywhere because we need y'all to test this thing.
Okay.
Right. And we need to see how it's going to be. But you have some people who are reacting to it being everywhere as, yes, finally, the gamification of Star Citizen, make it easy for me to do everything. I want to be done already. And they're going to want it to stay this way. And I'm telling you that quote that I gave you earlier is what I believe that they're going for. I don't think that's going to change much. And I want you to make the assumption that what a lot of the stuff that you're seeing in the testing environment will not be in the final environment. That's my guess.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
Luna
so
Maria.
I don't want I don't want them everywhere over the long term. Is the simple answer.
Yeah. Luna Maria, thank you so much. It's good to see you, by the way. Thank you for stopping in. She's a supporter of Axis, and so I'm glad to see her stop by.
And thank you for giving.
Yeah, and thank you for the donation, by the way, too.
Thank you for the donation, Luna Maria. Yeah,
we appreciate that. My issue I shared with you guys earlier. First of all, I agree. I think that these are just out there now so that the people can transition from the immediacy of just hitting I and grabbing things to understanding how this system is going to work. And even with the item banks in place, I still am looking forward to how we will respond when, for example, we're not carrying a backpack. As I shared with you guys earlier, I didn't have water on me, so it forced me, and I don't mean in a bad way, it forced me to go to a vendor to get what I needed. Normally, I carry all this stuff on me when I'm running around. All of a sudden, I didn't have that luxury, or at least I hit I, and I know I can get one. I've got 20 bottles at every station laying around floating in the cloud, and all of a sudden, that was not available to me. So it physicalized the whole process now of me having to, first of all, it made me have to think about it. Now that if I need something to drink, it's not as simple as getting out of my ship and hitting I. I've got to get out of my ship, run inside, and go upstairs and do some other things. But I agree with you that I think that the influx of these machines will get reduced to something that looks more reasonable, similar to what we had before they were put in. We've got those different ATM and units. I think they'll be sparsed out throughout the place. But I also think that we'll start to build a discipline of taking what we need with us and making sure we have it with us when we go into certain areas. The other thing to what Gomab was saying earlier, which I think is crucial, is that this is tier 0. It is clunky. Yes, it's clunky also because of what we've been used to. If we didn't have this before, if this was the first time we got inventory, we would probably be jumping and doing cartwheels and saying, oh, this is amazing. Well, it's not because we're used to a different way of it operating. And so there is an extra step that we did not have before. Before, you could hit I, you could double click on your item, or you could drag your item and you could push on. Now you have to basically go to that machine, which is the equivalent of hitting I. But now you have to move something from your warehouse to your item bank. And then you have to say, send it to me. And when you do that, the windows open up like they used to back in the day with you in the middle, your inventory on the side. And as usual, you can double click on things. You can move things back and forth like you used to before. There is an extra step. But as we said earlier, put in your feelings, put in your thoughts, talk about what will make it better, what could be better. And try to keep in mind what CIG is trying to do with physicalized items. I know it would be so easy to say it was better the way it was, but that doesn't work if we want to start getting into this whole thing of physicalization, the hangers, the freight, and all these other things. Something has to shift a little bit, and hopefully CIG will continue to move it forward in a way that for us makes sense and also makes the gameplay much more comfortable. Okay. Anything else on storage access? I don't think there was anything else that I can think of with the Gomab, you mentioned about the search feature. Give you guys a tip. There is a bug in the search feature. I did what Gomab mentioned earlier. I had bought some containers. I was at area 18 and I was at my base. So I went over to Dumper's Depot. I bought some furniture and I bought 8 containers. I went back to the hangar, and I bought some. I bought a what do they call those things? The collapsible containers for the mole and the prospector. So I go back to my hangar, and I click on containers. One of them is containers for like if you got like a mission or whatever, and then the other one's just regular standard containers, and nothing showed up. The only thing that showed up were the collapsible containers for the prospector and the mole. Those popped up, but the 8 containers I bought did not pop up. So I'm going through everything. I'm going through every category. I'm looking for them, saying, well, maybe they're in here somewhere. They never showed up. Then I said, oh, I remember they were saying some bugginess with the search feature. So I went to search. When I did search, I typed in CONT and I hit enter. Nothing showed up. Not only did nothing show up, I couldn't get out of that screen. The only way I could get out of the screen was to just step backwards, walk away from it. When I walked away from it, boom, screen went back to normal. I was able to go back in. The next time I went in, I typed in when I typed in CONT, the containers did show up. They did show up, but I could not move them. I couldn't move them from the warehouse to the freight elevator. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't highlight them. I couldn't click them. The screen froze up. And so I got froze there. I backed away from the screen. Screen goes back to normal. I come back to it again. I type CONT again. The containers pop up, all 8 of them. But this time, instead of hitting enter for the search, I hit the magnifying glass. And when I hit the magnifying glass, they came up, but I was also able to drag and move all that stuff back and forth without a problem. So know that there is a bug. If you hit enter on search, the screen will lock up and you can't do anything. Use the magnifying glass and your stuff will come up. I think, Gomab, you tried to do a detailed search on armor. Did that ever work for you or no?
So I think the difference is you were doing the search on the freight elevator.
On the freight elevator, right?
I was doing a search on
the item
bank.
Okay.
The freight elevator search actually works. And I think what you were running into possibly was the chat bug, where when you hit enter, it actually activated the chat.
So
the workaround is to hit F12 before
and
you
get
go
rid of
into
that
close chat, then search. Right.
I didn't even think about that because I think I probably did have it up. You're right. Okay.
But they put it in the patch notes to their credit. They put the workaround in the patch notes.
It's in the patch notes.
Oh, good.
But
okay.
In the actual item bank, I don't think the search works at all because I went in, I did the workaround, right? I removed the chat, and then I went in and I typed in, the Morozov or Artemex or AD4 or Demico, and it just did nothing, right? Gotcha. So I don't think that's working.
That's in there yet. Okay, that filter's not there. Thank you, Shimpasta. Yep, you and Gomab hit it on the head. That was my goofiness. Usually I shut F12 and I didn't. I guess I probably didn't. So, gotcha. Thank you guys for that. Okay, let's move on. The dynamic event, Blockade Runner, introducing a new dynamic event that involves a criminal faction, the Ninetales, locking down an LEO at L1 and L2 rest stops. Players must run the blockade and purchase and sell a percentage of Quantanium before time runs out. Here's a bit of a throwback. Back in 2019, if I'm remembering that was the correct year, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was 2019, Tony Zarovic mentioned that CIG had been working on several dynamic events. I think he said they had at least 6 or 9 at the time that they were working on at the time. And evidently, this is another one of the dynamic events that they have been working on. This is not in the game yet. CIG told us that the dynamic event is not there yet, so we have no comment about it. But we do have some comment about it, I'm sure, because when CIG presented this a few weeks ago on, I think it was ISC, they presented it with this idea that for those of you who are interested in doing non-combat, or I don't know how they put it, I can't remember, freight or whatever. And I think that there was a little frustration from some people who felt like this just sounds like another FPS mission, a variation of an FPS mission again. And there have been guys who have been saying they're looking forward to more missions they're not saying we don't want to have any encounters. What they are saying is that we don't necessarily want to have these built-in encounters. If you give me a cargo mission like we did the other day, Cap, when we did the freight hauling mission, that was just basically get some boxes, load them up, take them down to the place, right? Now there was a possibility of some form of engagement, right? And that could have happened. But I think that one of the things that CIG that some players are looking for is a dynamic event that maybe is much more not something that's built in with some form of combat. I'm not against combat, guys. I'm not. I'm just saying I know this was one of the things that people who got excited about hearing about the blockade thing. Now, unfortunately, blockade, that's what blockades are. If there's a blockade, there's combat involved. There's somebody who's keeping people from getting in from somewhere. So maybe them naming it that, but then talking about the freight side of it, didn't mesh well with some folks. But if it's a blockade, that's exactly what's going to happen. So I don't want to put any judgment on this mission yet because CIG is just giving us glimpses of what it's going to be like. It may be something that is very involved with cargo and hauling. In fact, cargo and hauling may be a greater percentage of what is the importance to that versus the defense and combat side of it. But we'll have to wait until the mission comes out to make that determination. But let me ask you guys, are you guys interested in a mission like this? Because this is a little bit different now. And I'm wondering to you guys, I'm going to present this as a question to Gomab, especially being the networking guy. One of the things that I've looked at, we've said this before on the show, that much of what CIG gives us is for testing purposes. I know a lot of times it feels like it's about the game, but everything that goes into both the PTU and live is about testing something. My question to you guys is this a step toward bringing larger scale combat into a localized area in relation to server meshing, where you've got a concentrated effort of fighting going on? Before it was happening in space, right? We were out there dealing with the Nine Tails out in space, but now we're bringing it at a space station where there is a blockade, there are other players, and there's this engagement where people have got to be able to get in and out. Is this something that maybe we could look at as here's another step? And Gomab's kind of half grinning, so I'm gonna go to him on this one first. Is this something that maybe could be a testing point?
It's Nine Tails Lockdown V2. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask the whole chat. Haven't we seen this before?
Yeah,
but it is. But I get that. But I'm asking, this is being localized now. And I get Nine Tails. Nine Tails was scattered out in a whole bunch of space area. Y'all guys know what I'm talking about.
No. Nine Tails Lockdown.
No.
They would lock down a specific MiC L1, MiC L4.
Yes, they would.
Crew
Yes,
L1.
they would.
And they locked down that, and you had to
get and get the stuff right.
You had to go and get the resource Quantanium at this
and bring it in,
then bring it in and get through the blockade, and then there was a combat portion. So you can either be on either
the other side. So you don't think it's anything to do with them testing anything more, maybe for server meshing? And it's another reason why I'm asking this.
It could be right. I think it will be important for them to do the testing in order to bring people to one place. But again, this is just like they just redid Xenothreat. This is just them redoing Nine Tails Lockdown.
Yeah, I get
it. And again, Xenothreat gave them a lot of data about a lot of people in one place at one time, and that they can use in order to enhance server meshing. That if people were to participate in Nine Tails Lockdown or whatever this is called, Blockade Runner, then it will give them more information. The challenge with Nine Tails Lockdown, and the reason why it wasn't as successful as it could have been, is that the only people that really participated in it were people like me that made millions of dollars off of running the cargo, and there weren't enough people actually doing the combat portion of it. Right. So that's going to be the challenge, is for them to make it something that draws all aspects of gameplay to it. Is what's going to be the draw of combat pilots on either the lawful or the unlawful side. What's going to be the draw of the people that are running the cargo missions, and how are you going to sustain that? And then once you get enough participation, yes, the data that they get, especially if it taxes their infrastructure based upon the number of people in that one localized area,
Right.
once they get that data, they'll be able to make some changes. But they got to create something that's people going to want to play. Xenothreat, people played
Right.
mostly because there was an opportunity for you to steal an Idris, right? And there was an opportunity to make a lot of money.
And make money. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So that I mean, that's what it boils down to. What motivates people? What motivates these Star Citizen players to actually do things? One, is it fun? Two, can I make money? And three, are there other rewards that I can go after that are actually going to be something that's going to make it worth my while to do it? Otherwise, I'm going to continue to do what I was going to do. I'm going to do bounty hunting. I'm going to run cargo. Hey, you guys have fun doing that blockade.
Yeah, Griff, we have 8 friends in Evocati who talked about to your point that I'm hearing you try to get at with this. We had friends at Evocati who were part of the effort to test different servers around different things, right? So, yeah, and this may come back to Gomab because he knows more about this than I do, but there was a point in time where they were testing a server around a planet or server around a moon.
Right.
And then you saw some of the content creators walk the fine line between the servers and fire missiles across the line and see how that worked and all that. If part of this event is to test the idea of placing a single server around the location, right? And seeing what that means in terms of people coming in and out of that single server, that might be one thing. They haven't told us that, but I can imagine they might want to test something like that.
That's
right?
what
But
I was
to
getting for.
But to Gomab's point, if the event itself, and maybe that's part of the reason it's been delayed, right? If it doesn't have that full spectrum draw, some people who want to do combat, some people who want to do the cargo and make money, other people who want to check it out, a location that's compelling, right? A little bit of a narrative that's compelling, then you're not going to necessarily have the numbers of people doing it that allow you to test that server in and outness that they maybe want to get at. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway because I'll do them all. But I can tell you that the previous version of Blockade Runner, I did the least. Okay. Just so you know, in terms of the events.
And maybe having an enhanced version of Call to Arms on both sides of the law, right? Where, what I'm saying, hey, look, if you take Call to Arms, Blockade Runner, instead of getting 500 per kill, you get 50,000 per kill, right?
Right.
And if you take it on
and
the legal
call
side,
the delivery, call the delivery.
Yeah, and if you take it on the illegal side, maybe it's 100,000 per kill, right? And so that'll bring out the togies of the world that are going to come out there and come get you. So they've got whether it's a test or not, they got to get people playing it.
And I agree because if the people don't play it, we don't get the data and everything else. And the reason why I brought this up is because as we watch the history of what CIG has been moving toward for 4.0, we have seen this testing in several areas. One of them has been server capacity. In February, several in April, they've been working toward bringing up the amount of people that could be in the game. So we moved from 50, 25 back in the day, 50, 100, and the testing was successful at 750 people. So even if they bring us up to a number like 500, that would be great. Second, to Captain's point he mentioned, was the fact that there was testing being done with 3 servers in the system, particularly around a station or planet. And hence, that was why I was asking, this is interesting that this is coming up at this time. Something that is making us be able to bring some type of dynamic conflict. I mean, they could have used any of the missions. And this is, like, as you guys mentioned, this is an upgrade of what we had before. But I was trying to say, is this another step toward finding performance, stability, and all those other things that need to happen if static server meshing is, which we do know, it's on the table for something that they want to do. So I'm looking at it from a testing position, not a dynamic event, and people want to just go out and play is all I'm saying. And then the other thing was the server capacity, performance, the server, and it was something else. I forget what the other one was, but that's cool. That's cool. You guys answered my questions, and that's what I was curious about. So we'll see what happens when this comes out. GoMob hits it on the head. If it's not interesting that first few days, people will come out there. If it feels like it did before, we may not get the activity that we want, but I hope that they do include something else that, as the details come out, that makes people say, hey, this is kind of cool to go out here and do. Okay. Yeah, we got our one more point to go, and then we got some questions, so we can jump into it. We opened up the show this week with a video that some of you guys were here for at the beginning. We talked about this earlier. By the way, thank you guys again for the donations and contributions. As we mentioned earlier, we were raising money tonight to replace some equipment that we have for our streaming, and we'd already purchased the equipment, and we were just reaching out to the community to let them know that there was a need. Thank you guys so much for what you've given tonight. I don't know if we reached our target, but I know we are close to it. We saw at least $420 come in, maybe more. There were some subs that came in. Our goal was 500. So thank you guys. You guys are amazing. We really, really, really appreciate all that you guys did tonight to help support us in one night. This was supposed to go over the month of August, and you guys just knocked it out of the ballpark in one night. So thank you guys for that.
Well, real quick, shout out to Peter for his $100 donation.
Oh wow.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. So doing
Big
quick
Pete.
math here based upon what I'm seeing so far. We're at for
NASCAR says 460.
70, for 50, 60, 480 actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Including the $20 from YouTube
That's
as
great.
well. So
That's great. Thank you guys.
we're getting really close to that goal. I know.
And don't forget Maverick's bits. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know that YouTube and Twitch gonna take a little bit off the top, take a little bit off the top.
That's right, but it's
uh,
okay. You guys, thank you all. That's awesome. Thank you. So at the beginning of the show, we showed this video. CIG put this out on Thursday as well, or Friday. I forget what day it was. But it's a very short 45-second video that shows 324, but also in their commentary, they talk about as they're moving toward 4.0, that this is the first step of it. And so we're going to show this video real quick for you guys to take a look at, and then we're going to talk about it because I've got some questions I want to ask these smart brothers that are on with me tonight. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Alpha 324 is bringing tremendous changes to how you manage your belongings. Your persistent hangar is now your first customizable home in the verse. Organize your cargo, keep your gear close, and jump straight into the fray. Your own space means quicker access to the things you need. And Alpha 324 is just the beginning of establishing your home. Stay tuned for more at CitizenCon this year. Until then, get ready for Alpha 324. It's time to shape your own adventure.
Okay, so let me give you some background on this. Last year, October 2013, 2953, many, as you guys know, the Soul Citizens made it out to Los Angeles. We attended CitizenCon, had a great time out there. Some of us, it was our very first time going. For some of us, we were veterans. We'd been there before, but we had an awesome time together. And as you guys know, when CitizenCon wrapped up last year, one of the final presentations that was made by Todd Pappy. Shout out to Todd Pappy, missing his face, good guy. And he made a presentation about HABs and habitations. And it was something that we didn't expect to see. We know CIG has had this on their table for a while and talked about it, but it was just great to see that this was a direction that they were going in, finally, for lack of a better term. And when it left the stage that day, he said the development for habitations would begin January 2024. There's a lot of excitement, optimism, but skepticism. The fact is that it was going to start in January. That was great. But there was a lot of feeling from day one that it'll be a while before we see anything about HABs. And it's great to make a little cinematic like what we saw last October. But it's another thing to make it all come together and work. But lo and behold, 10 months later, or 9 or 10 months later, not only do we see another rendition of what HABs look like, but we see not a gray box version, but a white box version of it. And in this ad, what you heard them say was this was a step, 324 was a step toward habitation. Now, I'm not saying it's a step toward what we saw on the screen in relation to the HAB that was on that moon, the hangars are that step as far as I'm concerned. But it also, for me, and I don't know how you guys felt about it, seeing that hab there, which looked like a pretty basic unit, unlike what we saw in, CitizenCon, which is much more elaborate. We saw hydroponic stations and garages and all this other stuff. But this one was just a simple habitation that had an entrance to it. Just give me your initial thoughts. I'm not trying to overhype this, but I'm also not trying to dismiss it. I just want to know what you guys think about what this is saying right now. Maybe what ideas you think CIG is going. Is it in relation to CitizenCon this year again, or 4.0 or Pyro, whatever you want to share? Let me go to Cap first, and then I'll go to Gomab.
You don't want to overhype it. Don't underhype it. I'm hyped. This is hype. 3 things that stood out to me in them putting this out here. Right. Okay. And, they don't stumble into their videos. Right. They don't fall down and drop a video. Right. They do it for a reason. Okay. Right. And this came when it came for a reason. 3 things that stood out. One is whoever has laid out that stuff at the beginning of the video is a tractor beam master. They're much better than me because everything is laid out perfect. I don't even know how you do that. Right. That's the first thing. The second thing is, yes, indeed, armor and weapon lockers and displays, and let it look like that in my hab. That is tight. You understand? That looks good, right? I would love to have my specialized armors that I buy, craft, or acquire, and lay them out like that, not only for display and how it might look, but functionality. I want to grab something, or I just want to show something off when you come over, right? Whatever. And then, the persistent homestead, I think they're using the language of homestead to differentiate from habitat, right? And from the crafting that Todd Pappy was talking about. I think these are singular things that will just be dropped. They'll either already be somewhere and you can acquire them, or, they are for me, the best case scenario in 4.0 is that they're tied to the launch of something like the Pioneer. Right, and early functionality of the Pioneer. But I think that these will be very basic. I'm not even sure that they will require, they may, but I'm not even sure that they will require the use of the 4x4 and 8x8 land claims. I think these are very early cuts at that stuff to test things out, again, for testing purposes. So, we've been talking about these things. Jared was talking about colonial homesteads 2.5, 3 years ago now. And they started showing mock-ups of this stuff. So it's nice that they're looking to get something in. I think that they will all probably be the same. But I'm very excited about it. Let's not underhype it. Let's recognize that this is probably coming sooner rather than later. So good stuff.
Let me ask you a question before I go to Gomab. What after seeing what you saw at CitizenCon last year, if you were, I'm not sure, maybe you didn't. Did you set some subconscious timetable like, we probably won't see that until blah, 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 blah?
Well, they told us they're going to begin the R&D on it in Q1 of this year.
True, but my question is, did you think there was going to be some movement or, eventually?
Well, so what that meant for me, was that we would probably see it a year to 18 months from then.
Okay.
Right. So to have something within 9 months is cool to me. This is well ahead of my own timetable.
Okay. Gomab, on you.
I'm going to underhype it.
Okay.
The video was very cool. Very excited about everything that I saw in that video. Do I think that it's going to be coming soon? No.
Soon's relative. So give us a time frame that you think is practical. 1.0
in the next 12 months.
Okay.
CIG has a recent history of showing very detailed videos of things that aren't coming for quite a while. Now, do I believe that they are working on it? Yes. Do I believe that these persistent hangars are the first step towards HABs, and they're showing you what they are working towards? Yes. Do I believe that we just saw a glimpse of what the first iteration of that could possibly be? Most definitely. Do I think that that's going to be something that is going to be announced, released, and dropped anytime this year?
Mhm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's going to be dropped this year.
That's fair.
I think that it's as you know, I'm trying to push back the pain of being a 600i owner.
No,
and,
that's
and all of the videos
Push way down.
and
Push it
stuff.
way down.
You know, they've shown me so much stuff.
the
about
true
the
salt
600i making me
rises. The
work.
true salt
And
rises.
they're like, we'll get to that when we get to it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But the truth is, off camera, Gomab says, I don't want to see nothing until
Till
I
I
see my
get my
600i
600i.
rework.
No. Look,
Don't show me
I'll be
nothing.
straight up. CIG, if you're watching this, listen to me. I don't want to see anything before it's about to be dropped.
Okay.
To be real, I don't care what you're working on.
Okay.
I want to know what you're about to release. And I get it. People want to see what, the future. They want to see roadmaps and stuff. And I know I may be in a minority, but I understanding development to a point where you could say, hey, look, we're trying to work out a system that allows us to do X, Y, and Z. In my mind, my background says, ooh, that's going to be rough. That's going to be hard. And that's going to take a long time. In the mind of gamers, they're like, they're working on it. It's coming soon. And those
Right.
two things don't align.
Right.
And so I'd rather them, I appreciate the teaser to say, hey, these habs are just the first step towards this goal. And when we've put together a representation of what this goal looks like. And I see that, but my concern is that everybody else sees, oh, CitizenCon, they're about to drop this right now. And I'm like, no. And like, guys, and I'm telling everybody, when you go, my concern about CitizenCon this year, and I say this with all sincerity, is that everybody bring it down, tamp down your expectations.
Then you'll be disappointed.
Just go in with the hope of enjoying yourself.
Yep.
And being immersed in the community, in the culture of Star Citizen, and be happy with what they show you. Because people are going in with, oh, there's going to be a Squadron 42 release date announced, and there's going to be, they're going to drop this, and they're going to drop that. No, guys, there's going to be something, and I'm hoping more than you can possibly imagine that we get a lot of those things. But call me a salty veteran in this thing, not a Michael, but a veteran in this thing, that I've learned to say, hey, look, I don't expect anything.
Yeah.
Here,
I wouldn't call you salty. I call you seasoned, bro.
Yeah, there you go. Seasoned.
Laurie's a lemon pepper. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, those are, I think both of your guys' perspectives, I think, are good. And there is a balance in this. I'm going to show you what my thesis is here, and I'm going to take the video back just a little bit to this section here. I agree with Gomab 100%. I think that there's a couple things. 4.0 is a big thing for CIG. And we've said this before. 4.0 is not about any one particular thing. A leap going from a 2.0 or a 3.0 or a 4.0 usually means that there is a significant jump in several things. It could be technology, it could be game features, it could be direction, it could be a whole lot of things that get introduced at a 4.0 jump. Okay, so please keep that in mind. In this statement in the video, they said that this is our move toward 4.0. Now, that's a broad statement, because it doesn't mean, to Gomab's point, even if 4.0 came out this year, it doesn't mean that 4.0 is when this would come. It might be 4.0.4 or or 4.1, some or 4.0.8, whatever the case may be. It could be June of next year. But for you old timers out there, there are some things in this video that says CIG has been here before, and there are some things that they've done that we can see in this video. But then there are some things that need to happen with this to happen as well. One of them is that this HAB that we're looking at right now is a singular unit. It is not what we saw before with the modular units back at CitizenCon, which means that this could be something that they, to Gomab's point, tier 0, here's a base that you can put down. That's easy enough to do. The difficult part, though, is that you guys know with bases and homesteads comes the aspect of land claims, right? And a whole bunch of other elements that we have not seen CIG produce yet. So that aspect technologically still needs to be put into the game before we can start putting stuff down in different places. Even if it's not in relation to UEE, there's a lot of dynamics that are going to have to go into being able to place a base. But a base itself is not a big deal. The next thing in the video that comes up, beyond us seeing this one singular base, is this part. The fact that CIG has just introduced furniture into the game that we can use for ourselves, that we can incorporate into our living spaces. And to Gomab's point again, that's why we have the hangars. There's your testing ground for being able to have furniture and place it. But it does show now that we do have furniture. And we've seen props 3 years ago that CIG has created specifically for this. But getting this stuff to stick to grids and do all the things it's supposed to do is still being worked on. But at least we can see that's one thing that we've had in our hands before that now we're seeing taken to the next level. The next one are these, the storage areas and mannequin areas. For those of you who remember the original hangars back in the day, your armor used to sit in your hangar on a mannequin like this, and it used to rotate around in circles. So this whole mannequin idea, which we also see in our stores right now, is something that they have, and it's a technology that exists. It was taken away.
Real quick, Griff. Sure. That helmet, that helmet in that middle, I don't know if that exists in the game.
That one didn't. No, Togi told me that that's a new helmet. He said the armor is, but he said that helmet. He said, but that helmet and the one next to it too are two. No, that one in particular, I'm sorry, is a brand new helmet. We don't know what the heck that is. But again, most of the prop stuff that's in here is stuff that we're familiar with. Okay, but. Yeah. Again, just because these things are, all I'm saying is that some of this stuff has been in the game before and taken away. Some of it exists now. But does that mean that all of a sudden bases will come up? No, it doesn't. It does say that their intention is somewhere in 4.0. They want to introduce homesteads. So that's what we have to look forward to. And even if 4.0 comes out around CitizenCon, that's the first iteration. They got a lot of stuff they got to drop. Now listen, none of us are going to be mad if they drop it. You know, all we're saying is that this is one thing out of a bunch of other things. Everything from the static server meshing, server capacities, the replication layer stuff being locked down, greater stability, new mission, all this other stuff they've been talking about they want to do. And then you got homesteads. That's a whole nother thing. So
yeah, Chad is saying that helmet was in the Pyro playtest. So that's cool.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Togi said that the armor, I don't know about, it was in the Pyro playtest. Okay, yeah. But I mean, it's not in the game now is what I'm saying. We know it's not in here now. Right, yeah. It's a new helmet. But Togi said that armor is the armor you get. It's a boss armor. I forget what he called it. I know, Togi, you can type it in the chat because I know
that armor in the middle is the Citadel armor. Yeah,
it's the Citadel armor. Yeah. I got the armor.
Okay, that one. Okay,
you've got the armor. I don't remember getting the armor in that color, but we've gotten the armor.
Okay,
I use that with the Mandalorian like helmet.
Ah, right. Okay. Oh, you tough guys. All right, cool. So, anyway, to Gomab's point, it's a great teaser. But we don't want to, I would not walk away from this saying, oh God, they're sending us up to I think if anything in CitizenCon, they'll just tell us some more stuff about homesteads. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an update at that point.
And don't get me wrong, if they come out and say, man, this is coming out with 4.0, I will be the happiest person, I will be over the moon ecstatic, but it's just not my expectation.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I'm hoping for. Like I have my hopes open for. I don't know. I can't. My heart can't take it.
Yeah, I got you. No, he's protecting his sanity, is what he's telling y'all. He said he had to protect.
Healthy. That's just healthy.
Say it's mental health. Good mental health.
That's right.
All right, we got some questions. We weren't. We're going. We said we weren't going to go 2 hours, and we're going to end up hitting it. So let's go ahead and hit some of our questions that we've got here. Let's see. We've got a question from Pops in Space. Just to be clear, is it not possible for me to go back and get a package that I forgot in a cargo mission hangar that is not my home?
It's my understanding that
Mhm.
once you leave and it's not your persistent personal hangar, if you leave something there, it's gone.
In the hangar.
That's my
Well,
In
hold on.
the hangar.
Hold on. If you have not pulled it up from the freight elevator,
Mhm.
then it is still. My understanding that it is still in the station's inventory.
Right,
So if
exactly.
you are if you take something and if you take a mission and it gives you cargo, it will put it into the station's inventory for you to pull up on the freight elevator. Right.
Mhm.
right.
If you pull it up, now here's
Mhm.
that's the question that needs to be tested. If you pull up that freight elevator and you only take a portion of it and you don't send it back down, does it poof?
No, in fact,
Or
it
does
does.
it-
No, in fact, it does, and it'll send you a message. In my experience, it'll
Yeah.
say you did not get everything you were supposed to get.
But that's on a mission.
Right.
But that's on a mission.
So, but
Right.
so the
Right.
question is, if you send it back down into the if you send the freight elevator back down, because my understanding is that you can take cargo missions that will give you more cargo than the ship you have available.
And you can go back and
to
forth,
carry.
right?
And you
Right.
could go back and forth to get
Right.
that. So you have to send it back down into the warehouse. And then once you do that, it puts it into that station's persistent inventory, even
Exactly.
though your hangar there isn't persistent. And you can go back, and next time you go into that hangar, you can pull it back up and get it.
And we
That's
want to
my
make it sure. No, you're right. And we want to make it clear, Pops. There's a warehouse and there's the hangar. The warehouse is basically the station. But the hangar, if you set something out on the hangar, on the deck or the floor or something, if you leave the hangar, when you come back to the hangar, it's not going to be sitting out there. Now, if it's in the elevator downstairs in the warehouse, you're okay. Okay?
You
But don't
may
leave it-
be. We need more testing. We need more
Well, yeah,
testing.
you need more testing. And the question
Mhm.
is,
Right.
is
It's
being
certainly
on
gone
the
if you leave it in that.
elevator-
Yeah.
Is being on the elevator considered being in the hangar?
That's what we
or
don't
is it
know.
considered
Or-
still being in the warehouse?
We'll have
Because
to
if it's
figure that
on the
out.
elevator and the elevator is raised to the level where you can interact with
Mhm.
it, is that
Is it still
considered
tracking it? Is it still tracking
Is it
it?
still
Yeah.
tracking you? Or is it now, hey, that's on you, bro? But if you
Mhm.
send it back down into the warehouse,
That's the safest thing to do
that's the safest thing.
for now. But we'll test it.
Yeah.
We'll test it. That's a
Right.
good question, Pops. Good question. This one is from who did I clicked on the wrong one. Doggone.
We got
I
one from
missed it.
Shimpasta here. I
Well,
can
let
read it.
me get the ones in the chart, then we'll
Okay.
get the that was probably Shimpasta's that I deleted. So why don't you read that one? Because that was probably the one I deleted.
Okay. So it says, do you think CIG should have given us empty persistent hangars and removed all the static items?
Oh, you mean like all in those bays and everything? Just kind of gave us the hangars, and we could put whatever we want in those areas. Is that what you're talking about, Shimpasta? All that static stuff
I
we
think.
get.
I
You know,
think.
those,
Yeah. I think.
yeah.
I
All
think
the
over the
random stuff in
longest
the
of
bays. He
long
said, yeah.
term. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think over the longest of long term,
It'll go.
you'll get something like that. Gomab will say,
Mhm.
"Don't CIG, don't stop doing nothing you're doing to do that." But
Yeah.
Or make
Right
it
now,
something
right.
that we can interact with, right? If you're going to give me something in my hangar, make it mine, right? So that if I can move it and put it in my freight elevator and put it into my inventory, or I can move it around, I can do what I want with it. If you're going to put it in my hangar, make it mine and let me do what I want to with it.
Yeah. And we
I
want
think
the
these
base to be
first
fun.
pieces are. Yeah, I think these first pieces are set dress. They are
Mhm.
doing that on purpose, and they've gotten a certain model that they're going to give for each of these hangars. But I think over
Mhm.
the longer term, you'll be able to. My guess is, and this is total guess, but my
Mhm.
guess is that you'll be able to say, "I just want a nice, clean hangar, right, of nothing," right? Or to Gomab's point, everything will be fully physicalized, right?
Yeah.
Maybe both. But that's just guessing. They haven't said either way.
Right. We got one from the prisoner. So, what is a homestead? A prefab building, or to spawn or build? The term has been used
Yeah,
very
yes.
generically. Go ahead, Cap. You talk about it.
No, I was gonna say the answer is yes. It could be
Yeah.
any of those things. We just don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
And to Griff's point and Gomab's point, the it would be difficult for us to have seen this to the presentation, knowing how we fiend for information, and for us to not at least hear more
Mm.
at CitizenCon, right, about what this means, right? It'd be great to hear in the run up to CitizenCon, but to at least hear more at CitizenCon about what this means. We don't know. For me, I imagined when I heard homestead, that was not the language that Todd Pappy used when he talked about base building and habitats, right? Use the language base building, they use the language habs. A homestead seemed a little bit simpler to me, a little bit smaller. But whether it's prefab or not, whether it gets spawned for other reasons other than your intention or not, whether we have to build it or not, we have no idea.
Yeah. TIG also shared with us, this is a while back when they did this show about props and building out things for the homesteads. They talked about the fact that there would be things that you could manufacture. And this is before CitizenCons last year when they taught us about blueprints. But they had talked about manufacturing items. And this is, again, let me say this also too. This is when we thought that the Pioneer was the only thing that did any type of manufacturing too. So they had told us that you would either be able to have manufacture things, or that there would be things that you could purchase and be able to bring them in. For example, maybe you don't have the ability to manufacture. But now with the idea of blueprints, who knows what they're going to come up with. But back then, the idea was maybe that if you wanted to build out your homestead, but you wanted to get solar panels, there would be a place where you could purchase solar panels or generators, and you would have to transport those things to your homestead and have them and install them. But again, CIG pulled a fast one on us last year and talked to us about blueprints and manufacturing extending. They even got to the point of talking about dealing with ships. So things change. There is this idea of you being able to have some prefab items that you could get, because obviously some people may not have the ability to build out. And they just may want to buy some very generic things and bring them in. And other people who really want to be much more creative and do blueprints and go after the whole being able to build out something in a customized way. But we'll have to see what CIG comes up with for that.
Okay. Really quickly,
Sure.
One thing I would love to see is for us to be able to take some space in those hangars and put a spawnable bed in it. So that we can actually, we don't have to, if you don't want a homestead, like you can log out and log back in your hangar space.
Yeah, I think the only problem with that is that you hit the economy. They want you to rent an apartment, you know.
I mean, but you own the hangar.
Yeah, but they want you to rent. Hey, you know how it is in the loft. I was in a loft, dude, where I had a rule where you couldn't live in the loft. All you could do was do business. So, you know. I'm just saying, they want you to pay rent.
Hey, look, Griff. You know, there's a lot of hangars with airplanes right now where they have apartments above them.
Where, this is true. This is true. I mean, don't get me wrong. It would be cool, you know, to be able to log in and out, just be right there in your hangar. Because I hate to say this, but back in the day, I used to log my ship out on the top of the tallest building there in Area 18, and I'd get in my bed, and that's where I'd log out. Thing. You did the same thing? Same thing. You know, just start the game right there and go, you know, which was cool. Okay. Admiral Kusanagi's asking, those physical lockers require physical suits to keep there. How do you think that affects remote station home inventory size? How do you think the people's reactions will be? So I guess if hopefully I'm understanding the correct thing, Admiral, there is a size restriction, SCU restriction, even on the elevator that we use to bring stuff up. And I guess it seems like you're saying that once you start bringing all this inventory in, these things are physicalized, they actually have mass and size. Will CIG make it so that there's only so much stuff that can fit inside of some place? And maybe that's even for performance reasons for the game. I don't know if that's maybe what you're asking. And if not, we could talk about it later with some greater definition. But do you guys read anything any differently about that question? Those physical lockers require physical suits to keep in there. How do you think that affects remote station home inventory sizes? How do you think people's reaction will be?
I think the those physical lockers will be easy access to armor sets. I don't think that should, you know, if they get to a point where they say you can only have as much inventory as you can store and display, then that becomes a whole different thing, right? If you can only fit 20 armor display units and 13 gun racks, then that means you can only own that many of those. Then I believe that's just what I can't even mince words. That's just a bad design.
Or does it just mean that whatever the size of your home is, in other words, I may own 20 suits of armor, but if I can only put up 10 mannequins, that's it. Everything else has got to go into storage or something. You know,
everything, everything goes like in your real house, your closet. Either you have a walk-in closet or you have a reach-in closet. If you got a walk-in closet, you got more space to put your clothes up. Otherwise, your stuff is in tubs in the attic.
Yeah. Do you think that, to his point, just like how we have a storage space with a limitation, do you think that our homesteads would also be similar to that, where there's only so much stuff? Is it, in other words, is it infinite bag of holding, quote unquote, or is it 50,000 or 100,000?
It should be the larger you build your,
the larger your base is,
the more storage.
Okay.
I believe, hopefully the more each component, each station that you add to your homestead will have a storage capacity associated with it or not, right? There may be some that don't have any storage capacity associated with it.
Depends on the design and everything. Okay. Fair enough.
Well, and the other thing is that we're answering this question in the context in which we play the game now, right? So we're in this Tesla alpha where, very often we have 77 suits, 177 armor pieces of armor. That may not be how we live.
It
right?
probably won't be.
Unless
you go mob, you got a lot of money. Other than that, I'll be poor.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how stuff drops and what that really means, and whether you want to keep average armor that you get and loot because you've got better armor. Why keep it? What Death of the Spaceman does to all that? There's a lot of dynamics and impact what we even want to keep, let alone what the inventory sizes will be. So, but I do think it will be a function of the thing you mentioned earlier, Griffin. It will be a function of how much stuff can CIG allow us to have in their system versus how much stuff has to be in the cloud of the item bank inventory at a location.
Look, just think of it as the plastic tubs in the attic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Cyberwolf says, Griff, that's why we bought that cot for our hangars back in the day. Cyberwolf, that's why you bought that cot, because you living in a Selfland hangar. If I'm living in a Rebel in New York, I ain't sleeping on that crummy cot, buddy, okay? So I'm just letting you know that now. But yeah, I remember a lot of people, when they bought the cot, they were like, oh, I'll be able to put this cot out in my hangar. And to be honest with you, that was never my crossing in my brain of sleeping in the hangar. But hey, to each his own.
I got no problem with people sleeping in a hangar. I just don't want them to get any buffs and regenerative health. It ought to be rough sleeping in there.
I want to take one
with
of
all
those
that noise
apartments and build an apartment, a full-on apartment. In the hangar.
I told you he got the bug. He's got that flying bug now. He don't want to leave his ships at all at this point. He's totally glued. All right, we got one more question from Zombie Pig. Will we be able to keep space cows in our hangars or use cargo hauling missions so peeps in Pyro don't have to eat rats? Okay. I'm sure that the quasi grazers will be a commodity. There's no question in my mind about that. That's a great economic dynamic of being able to load those things up probably in some kind of way and transport them. Whether you'll keep them in your hangar or not, that's interesting. Unless you got a pooper scooper, we'll have to see what happens with that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that they'll quasi grazer will be something that we'll use and take back and forth to Pyro or keep in your hangar?
Again, we got those side rooms. I mean, you can build a pen over there, and right now we're complaining about the sounds of the hangar being whack.
Wait a minute. Didn't CIG do something where they talked about putting a Copian in there or something on their ISC?
Mhm.
they in the contested spaces for Ruin or for
Yeah.
the stations in what's the name. So they are
No,
talking about
not the
putting them
recent
on
one. Not
stage.
the recent one. I'm talking about back when they first introduced that hanger thing. I could have swore that they jokingly said something about you could put a Copian in there or something weird. Maybe I'm dreaming. Maybe if somebody made a joke
Oh,
about it.
my get
I don't
the
know.
way that people are moving Copian right now, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I'd like
See,
to see
Shimpasta said it. Shimpasta said it. They said you could use it as a guard dog.
I'd like to
Yeah.
see
Hey, look.
I'd like to see this type of stuff only happening at the Hearthstones of the world,
Yeah.
right? If
Oh,
you
boy.
try to do this at an elevated location like Orison or New Babbage, you could try it, but then you'd come out and see some fines,
Yeah.
for
Hey, look.
Trafficking
keeping livestock.
violent animals or
Yeah,
livestock. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be kind of cool.
you know.
That
Hey,
would be
look,
cool.
CIG,
So there's
just give me a nice Kamado grill or offset barrel smoker and a deep freezer. I'll put all the quasi grazers you want in that freezer and I'll throw it on the grill and I'll make them wham burgers. Let's do it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. On that note, we're gonna wrap this show up for the Quasi Burger. So that'll be the new thing is the Quasi Burger. Let's go ahead and jump into what we've got coming up next. Let's see. Go Mab, why don't you talk about Soul Talk? Cap, you talk about Soul Voices, and I'll talk about next week.
All right. Soul Talk. Do you like bad jokes? I do. Well, come check us out every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where you can be a part of the conversation talking about the latest news and happenings in the Star Citizen universe with our very own Fast Cart and his sidekick, his bad jokes. We'd love to have you there. Come join the conversation, hop in on the Discord, and come be a part of the community.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yep, and Soul Voices is every Saturday, or most Saturdays, this Saturday, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where Griffin Gaming RPG peruses the week's discourse on social media, whether it be Spectrum or Reddit or Twitch or wherever, and curates questions and explores ideas that come from there. Or sometimes the discourse that Griff is in just generates questions that he has on his own. And Soul Voices is about inviting you to come in to the Discord and discuss those things with Griff across the show. That's Soul Voices, Saturday, 2 p.m. on Twitch.
Awesome.
Follow
Okay.
mine.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got the other stuff on that day. We've got we follow Captain's Table.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
also-
sorry. That's
okay.
That's part of PodSat, which is Podcast Saturday. Soul Voices precedes the Captain's Table and Paul Shelley's Astropub, and then that is followed by OGs of Star Citizen Relay in the evening. So.
Mhm. Very cool. All right, next Sunday, it's going to be kind of an extension of this show next week. We are going to be doing a show called Wingman's Hangar. For those of you who've been around any length of time, you'll remember that the very first community show that was produced by CIG was a show called Wingman's Hangar. And but that's not what this is going to be about. It's actually going to be a little bit of history on that, but we're really going to be giving you a history of the importance of hangars in Star Citizen and the variations of them. Some of you guys honestly have never seen where this all got started at and how different it was when it got started and the different iterations of what we've had for hangars. And so we're going to be kind of doing a visual history, share some stories about the importance of hangars, and also look at the importance of these hangars when it comes to the future of the game and where CIG has brought us today. So that's going to be next week. It's going to be Wingman's Hangar. Hopefully you guys can join us for that. We'll be excited to talk about that. Other than that, that's it. Guys, thank you. Listen, I think we hit our goal. If we didn't, we're just short of it. But I think you guys pushed us over our goal today of $500, helping us raise money to replace our Elgato streaming equipment. Thank you guys so much for that. Even for the donations that you guys gave for just the general subs, we really appreciate that. The bits, all that good stuff. And again, special thanks to my co-hosts who have joined me today, both Gomab, which I was so glad to see him. We missed him over the summertime, but it's good to have him back with us. And also Captain Serious Fun, who's with us today as well. Thank you, Fast Card, for all the modding, Admiral Kusanagi in the background, and all of you who continue to support us. We really, really, really appreciate you. Hope you guys are having a great August as we kick into this month. We're just only less than 100 days away from CitizenCon, so the clock is ticking. We've got some great shows coming up and some great guests coming up. 78 days. Time is ticking, y'all. Hey, so other than that, guys, thank you for being here. Captain Serious Fun, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at Captain Serious Fun or Serious Fun all across the net, Twitch. You can find me on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 7 to 10 p.m. You can find me on Patreon, Captain Serious Fun, and the Pretty Cool Org. We're Pretty Cool Org. And you can find me here with the Soul Citizens regularly, and certainly with every month with the producers. So.
Okay. Gomab, where can people find you?
You can find me in the verse. Look for me. I'm GomabATL. And if you see my ship's bad choices, don't mess with me, because that'll be a bad choice.
Very true. Very true. Don't forget our new video by the producers coming out tomorrow. It'll be out. It's called Star Citizen. Is it worth the wait? You guys be sure to check it out. Leave your comments. We always love hearing from you guys. We're going to send you guys over to Dark Hour 717, who's in the PTU right now. If you haven't seen it, he's actually in his hangar, getting ready to bring up some stuff on the elevator. So give him some love when you get over there. If you like what you see, follow him. And hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Until then, as always, peace, love, and soul. Take care, gang.